You finished your malt drink?
Yeah, I did.
Was it good?
Yes.
Welcome back, Luke.
Hey, Sam, how you doing? Long time no see.
I'm good. You've been away
I've been away.
on a boat.
I've been at sea. I've been on the high seas.
You've been at sea.
Been at sea doing
What-
the comedy.
What? How was it like?
It was great.
So you were performing comedy on a cruise ship every night for 2 weeks
Yes.
in America.
In America, land of the free. Well, I started in America, and then we went to the Bahamas.
Yeah.
And Central America, which I guess is still America, but not that America. Yeah, and I was with a bunch of pensioners, American pensioners, and a few gay men who are more my age. And what a time.
So why you were saying this before? That it's very popular with young gay men cruises. What is apart from why do they like cruises? We've already discussed the film Cruising. Do you think they're getting confused, thinking they're booking a cruising holiday as in a have sex with men holiday?
And they're arriving. What
and then
the
they arrive
hell
and they're
is
like,
this?
why is this a boat?
Why have you brought your wife with you, you maniac?
What's the appeal with young gay men? I think young gay men have good taste, and cruises are famously not in great taste.
Well, that's a judgment and a half.
I know. Luke obviously is going to become a full-time cruise ship comedian, so he won't speak badly of cruises.
Absolutely
not. P&O or whoever his employers are.
Virgin
Virgin cruise.
Virgin are my employers.
Whoa, that's
Russell
big time.
Brand. No, not Russell Brand. The other one. What's his name?
No, Russell Brand.
No,
That's
he's not my employer. What the fuck's his name?
it. Yeah, I've also it's gone from my head. I can picture him. I can see his big round face, his white beard. Richard Branson.
That's the one.
Richard Branson.
We got there together. That was beautiful.
We did. Was he on the cruise?
Nah.
Oh, that's a shame.
Or if he was in disguise.
What I want to know is, you said you had to do mostly cruise-related material when you were there, or at least material that you don't normally do.
Oh yeah.
Can you give us?
No.
Can you give us the cruise
No
joke that goes down the best on the cruise ship?
It's shameful.
Come on, Luke.
It's shameful hack.
Of course it's going to be hacked, but I want to know, what is it that they're going to...
Actually, I would say the biggest thing they laughed at was I was.
What about the food here, boys?
No, I think the thing they laughed at the most was I'm embarrassed to say this.
I know, that's why I brought it up.
You go on and you go, "Hey, it's me. I'm an English guy. Whoa! It's nice to be here amongst so many Americans. It's just nice to see people with clean teeth for a change. Round of applause every night."
Wow.
And I don't
You
even
were
think
giving
I don't
them what
even
they
think.
wanted.
Yeah, I really was. Well, I had to be up there for an hour. I don't actually have an hour's worth of quality material. So I thought I'd give them what they want, and they fucking loved it.
Yes!
Yeah, they're like,
they do have horrible teeth!
"Wonky teeth, oh." And that's how I spoke the whole time. I was like, "Oh, hello, me governors. What's up?"
How did they respond to... I assumed you... Knowing you, I assume you dipped your toe into a bit of mass shooting material, or were you trying to make good impressions?
No. I did do a little bit of that.
Okay. Did they like that?
It was hit and miss. They liked
Just like Columbine.
What was more? Very true. What was more controversial was I took them to town on circumcision.
Oh, okay. How they love circumcision.
They love circumcision.
Right.
And I didn't realize it's actually controversial over there, or at least some people are controversial about it. And some lady after my show came up to me and was like, "Thanks for talking about circumcision. We've needed that for years."
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my God! You were changing hearts. You were changing minds.
Yes.
You were
and
a big
penises.
deal. And penises.
Yeah.
Well, as a
Because it is weird.
as someone who was circumcised against his will,
You were
just
circumcised?
last week,
You were circumcised?
yeah, I'm circumcised.
No. Since when? Why?
Since baby.
Since baby? Did you have a tight little foreskin?
No. Simply, my dad was circumcised, and my parents thought, well, dad's circumcised, might as well make him match.
That makes no sense.
Yeah.
But this is why I think they do it. That's the only reason they do it. The dad is like...
My mum went, I think my son's penis needs to look as much like my lover's penis as possible.
That's not creepy at all.
Yeah.
It just seems like a sensible, rational decision. Because it is weird, because it's not like... America's mostly Christian. You don't have to do it if you're Christian. It's Jewish. It's Old Testament thing.
No, I know. It's not a religious thing. They just do it. They think it's it's cleaner, which is true, but it is also cleaner to chop your feet off. Yeah, because they often get stinky.
Yeah. The funniest one I've seen is they also say it prevents cancer of the penis.
Right.
Which is not. You chop anything off and you prevent cancer. It's not a good reason.
No, and apparently it's sort of bad. It like ruins sensation in some people. And by God, am I numbed?
Maybe that's why you're so successful. You're not bothered by the tingly delights of the tip of the penis.
Yeah,
you're just all focus, all game, baby.
I was talking to I can't remember what he said actually, but I was talking to an uncircumcised friend the other day, and he was saying,
categorize your friends.
They're split. It's one of the first conversations I have with people, and he was saying that like a certain type of touching or something on the tip of his chap. Mm-hmm. I don't like that I said that. I don't like that I said that. Would like he would like pass out, or he would like
what?
It would be like unbelievably intense
because it's so good. He would faint
because there's so much sensation. And
oh my God.
And I'm like, wow, I'm a long way off that. You could.
Well, I gotta say, if I roll down my foreskin and I'm like touching that bit underneath, I would be like, whoa there. Like, it would be a bit too tickly. Like, I would never have my foreskin unrolled in my trousers. That'd be a nightmare. That would be like,
But I don't even understand. What you don't unroll it. Surely if you unroll it, it just rolls itself back up when you...
No, you can roll it down sometimes.
What, and it just like sticks there like a fucking...
Mine does, yeah. I mean, it's sort of, it wants to go
surely
back
you've
up
got some...
slowly.
How can it just stick there?
I think I've got a small foreskin.
Right. Oh, okay, so it's like tight.
I used to date an American and she didn't realise I had foreskin.
Right.
Unless I'm flaccid, then I have loads of foreskin.
Oh, this is really not what I wanted the podcast to be today.
Oh, I'm sorry. What did you want it to be? Shame Luke for being a cruise comedian.
Is this which of us brought this up? I'm worried that I brought this up.
Well, you brought up the cruise, and then this happened to be... You did kind of steer this. You're like, did you talk about anything grubby and controversial on the cruise?
Yes,
School shooting.
So what was your argument in your stand-up set? You were just like, this is mad. Why do you do this?
And I was like,
don't tell us what to do.
Well, the way I framed
it... the Fourth Amendment, it says...
Yeah, I framed it that they just took freedom way too far. And they were like, let's legalize weed, let's legalize guns, let's cut our dicks off. I was like, oh, calm down, America.
That's a very... If you've not seen Luke stand up before, that's a very Luke bit. That's quite a nice encapsulation of what Luke's like as a comedian. It's nice to see you, and I would love to ask you all about what you've seen while we've been away, but we've no time.
We've no time
because today is our special Black Mirror season. I want to say 7 episode.
It is.
And we are going to go through all 6 episodes of the new season of Black Mirror and then rank them.
Yes.
Because that's what you got to do for likes.
Yeah, and for creativity and art. Rank it.
Luke doesn't like
comparison.
ranking.
I hate ranking, but let's do it.
He's going to do it.
We're going to say which one's better than which.
I am also going to say it's going to be spoilers. It's going to be non-stop spoilers. So we'll only spoil each episode that we're talking about. So if there's an episode you haven't seen, you can skip past what we're saying about that, and we're going to do them in order.
But let's say most spoilers are computers are bad.
Yeah. Oh my God, you should have seen me watching this series of Black Mirror. I was sitting there going, oh no. I'm starting to think they haven't thought through all the ramifications of this new technology.
Maybe there should be limits to this stuff.
Yeah. Really freaked my nut.
Yeah. Really good.
So yeah, watch Black Mirror. Well, if you haven't seen it yet, I would say go and watch it. Black Mirror is always up and down, but they're always like interesting and entertaining.
Yeah, I haven't watched any Black Mirror since season 1.
So I hear. So I think I've seen all of them. I might have missed one or two from the last series, but go and watch them, and then hear what we have to say. Or don't watch them if you don't care. We'll just spoil them for you, and then you get the gist.
Yeah.
To be honest, getting the gist of the Black Mirror episode is only probably slightly less valuable than watching it all.
That's all you need in a social interaction, isn't it?
All you really need to do is be like, oh yeah, it would be bad if Hoovers started killing you. That would be bad.
Is this your pitch for Black Mirror season 8?
No, we'll do. Well, if I had a bit more time, it would be better than that.
What if Henry was
Maybe
a serial
later
killer?
we'll come up with we'll come up with our own Black Mirror episodes,
Yeah.
and you can all vote. Our audience can vote for the winning one. Okay. Should we get started?
Yeah, go on.
Okay.
Which one are we doing first? We're
I
doing
think
them in order.
episode 1,
Common
which is
People.
Common People, starring Chris O'Dowd and Rashida Jones.
Yes.
In which Rashida Jones gets brain dead in an accident, and Chris O'Dowd signs her up to a new premium medical service called Rivermind, in which they basically fix her brain, but in return, she signed up to a subscription model, so can only stay alive as long as they pay this subscription model, and this subscription model gets more and more expensive and has more and more kind of filthy terms and agreements as time goes on, and their life
Corporate skullduggery
gets predictably harder and more horrible as time goes on. What do you think of this?
I like this episode. I thought it was a goodie. I liked Chris O'Dowd. I liked Rashida Jones. I thought they were both great. I felt they had a real relationship, which sometimes in sci-fi stuff you don't actually get that. That stuff's not done too well. I felt they actually had chemistry.
Well, yeah, because they're written by autistic people who've never barely spoken.
Yeah, and
to
like
another human
every
being.
line of dialogue is like, "Let me explain how this complicated new piece of technology works." Which is this one I didn't think was too bad for that. I felt
They had good chemistry.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I care for these characters.
Yes.
I don't want bad stuff to happen, which helped a lot. I thought it's really bleak.
It's so very, very bleak. I found this. I think this was for me the bleakest of all 6 episodes.
If I had ordered them, I probably wouldn't have opened with this one. Just because of how sad it is.
I think it was a strong opener, but yeah, it was and also kind of I think one of the most believable episodes in a way.
Yeah. You could really picture, because I think the way the subscription model worked, you're like, this is kind of analogous to insurance companies giving you some shitty health deal where you have someone who's literally just placed in this position where it's like, if you don't make enough money, your partner will die.
Yeah.
Good luck, mate. Keep going.
Yeah.
I guess the only addition is this sort of corporate subscription jargon added to it.
Yeah.
And Wi-Fi connected healthcare, which is a hilariously bad idea.
I guess there's 2 sort of main ways to see it. There's a sort of way to see it as basically just a criticism of the American healthcare system and a kind of expansion of the way they do things over there, which was a good criticism of that, but also like over here in the UK, like everyone agrees, they have the worst healthcare system imaginable, and it's awful, and I agree with it as a satire of that, but it's not particularly. I'm not particularly amazed.
Mind you, I had
from
something
perspective.
Interesting about America's health system.
Yeah,
Apparently, they do the most research because they have the least sort of, because it's all private. They have the least sort of government oversight.
Okay.
So they develop all the new stuff, but what countries like the UK do is just wait for them to make the good stuff, and then like quickly use that one actually works and doesn't have terrible side effects. So we need one country to sacrifice
Luke coming
itself.
to the defense of
I'm not coming to the defense. It'd be a nightmare living there, unless you're one of the lucky ones who gets the experimental thing that works. But oh boy, is it brutal. It's just trial and error.
Yeah,
with
and also
lives.
like because there's so much money in it, because of how fucked it is, they can make loads of money if they come up with a thing. So I guess in a sense maybe it is sort of capitalism working, but it just happens that the existence for people
Ugh.
is awful.
It's bad.
I preferred the episode as more of just a takedown of like subscriptions, companies using the subscription model in a kind of devious way. I hate subscriptions.
Yeah, me too.
I fucking hate subscriptions. The fact that you can't buy an app anymore, the fact that every app you have to subscribe to and they just drain money out of your account.
Yeah.
I despise it. I subscribe to as few. I think I'm subscribed to like Amazon Prime and maybe like Spotify and like that's it. I just like. I find it so sickening. And when the way this episode works is like. They're like, oh, you can't leave your town unless you upgrade. We're going to start playing adverts through you.
That was the highlight of the episode
my God.
for me. When she suddenly starts
bleak.
reciting adverts, and you're like, ugh, they might do that.
It did feel real, especially the I've not got her name, but the woman who played the like sales agent was really great at just being this perfect like soulless corporate person, being like, well, if you actually read the terms of the standard package, you can see that we do this, and we bring in like relevant adverts to what you're talking about in the conversation, not even like ignoring the fact that this means they're like recording and listening to every single conversation you have and are looking for times to put adverts in, and then they start like taking the stuff from her sleep and
God, I did also love
that.
I love the bit because she also uses the technology herself.
Yeah.
But I love when they're all really upset 'cause she offers them the subscription model, and then she obviously is upset by it, and then she just turns up the nonchalance meter to be like, oh yeah.
Yeah, so that's when the third tier comes out, where you can basically control all your mood. And which becomes even more sinister. At that point, I thought it might become like a sort of drug addiction thing where she like became like physically addicted.
Well, yeah, because I was thinking that's like
felt
ecstasy,
like opium withdrawals or something like that.
Well, so I think the also key thing there was the fact that they were saying the only reason that was possible was because they were draining resources from lower tier subscribers.
Yeah.
Which again is like, I guess that whole thing of tiered subscriptions is always like pitting people against each other, because you're like, and then forcing everyone to go up to the next level. It's
it just everything.
It's such a twatty system.
And what's crazy is like, it is true that without this technology, she would have died in the beginning. So it is an incredible technology, and it is like that's another thing that's great about it is it's like, well, of course you would want this. Like other stuff, it's like, well, just avoid it, right? Just don't subscribe to all these things. It's like, oh, this person is dead, and we're bringing them back to life. So you can't really go like have too much of a go at them in a way. Like the technology they're doing is incredible. I guess it's like what you're saying, right? It's like you have to be grateful when people invent new cures, right? But then if they exploit you with that.
Well, it's that merging of, healthcare and corporate. I don't want to say greed, because it's not necessarily. I mean, but it is kind of greed.
It's capitalism, and capitalism is greed, right? Yeah. Capitalism,
And you sort of feel you sort of feel like the social good aspects should not be profit driven. They should be about the value in and of itself. I mean, also it raises all these questions about like, when do you? It sort of like this episode just extends his grief, right? Like it doesn't allow him to get over, and you have to argue how good was their time together during this period? Was it worth it? Because it completely drained them financially, and then.
Well, I think it's pretty clear by the end that it wasn't worth it, because his life's in tatters. He's lost his job, and he ends up killing her. Euthanizing her, basically.
Okay, that bit of this is the only criticism I had of the episode. Could he not have just let the subscription? We're
not going to pay anymore.
He didn't have to murder her. He was like, I've got to get out of this phone contract. It's the only way.
That's such a good point.
I was like, when he was like, I don't think. What are you doing?
Yeah.
And also, then the corporate model is going to be like, why did you kill her? That's not our fault.
Yeah.
Whereas. If they let her die, there might have been compensation, or and there's a real sort of legal responsibility case to be had. Whereas if you just smothered her, I'm like, no, sorry.
Yeah.
Lawyers will be all over that.
Yeah, I think the ending was the only thing that I didn't particularly love. Like, especially him and the kind of
killing
the dumb dummies storyline where it's like the OnlyFans for people like beating themselves up.
I mean, I didn't mind that bit. I thought it should have just ended. He smothers her, he cries,
and then he walks back into his room with like a knife, and Dumb Dummies is on in the background. It's like, I'm gonna go back to mutilating myself.
He doesn't need
At which
to do
point,
that.
why are you doing that? Because
yeah. I didn't like that bit.
it just saves a lot of money by killing your wife.
Yeah. Also, the implication to me seemed to be like, are you about to kill yourself on Dum Dums? You won't get the money. What are you doing?
Yeah, is he going to kill it? Yeah.
Because the razor implies he's going to slit his wrist, right? I guess it could be he's going to cut his face or something. I don't know. But it's like, you can get a normal job now. You don't have to pay for this goddamn subscription.
Yeah.
So that was the only blemish, I thought, on an otherwise excellent episode.
Yeah, I thought it was a really, really good episode.
I was very sad at the end.
Super bleak. And my housemate made the point that it was like kind of predictable insofar as like you hear it described at the beginning, and you just know they're going to increase the price and they're going to change the terms.
But I like that. That's how
I didn't mind that because
feels.
Yeah,
you were always like, I know these guys are going to take the piss.
It's still so evocative and painful watching that happen, and the way in which it happens is like not entirely predictable, and
it also creates dread through the whole, because you're expecting it. It's like, so that creates tension the whole way through, where it's like, I don't know, sci-fi sometimes, the same with horror, there's too many twists and turns. It's like, actually just fine.
I just wish
stupid.
I think I quite like anything that has the potential of introducing a new moral in our society. So you know how some people are like, oh, the only way we're going to get through the housing crisis with landlords and everything, is to make it be sort of societally unethical to be a landlord. Right,
stigmatized
like basically, like, you know, in the past, being like a money lender or whatever was seen as like you're like a bad guy to do that. And you know, if no one was a landlord, then house prices would go way down because we wouldn't all be buying up property for it. And I've heard some people be like, the only solution is be like, if your friend's a landlord, be like, you know, you're a drain on society. This is a bad thing you're doing. You're a bad person for doing this. And
that's an interesting take.
And I like the idea. Not saying if you're listening and you're a landlord that you're a cunt, but I mean, it does. You know, the odds are higher than if you weren't.
I mean, the psychology of landlords is interesting, because I've had some friends who've were very like, you know, I'll always make sure I give my friend cheap rent or something like that, and then the second they got a person into their house, it just went up and up and up and up, and
it's like,
oh
wait, I could just get more money for nothing.
Yeah, and the whole thing was like, oh, but we're still below the market rate. But I'm like, but the market rate is so unacceptably high.
I'm giving you helping you out.
You're not on the moral line.
Yeah,
which is where you should be. But then also, I'll probably do the same thing.
I know it's hard. But anyway, I was like, I quite liked the idea. I mean, this gives a pretty good case for the sort of subscription model that everyone uses. It's like, we all know it's shit, but maybe if we start being like, oh no, it's actually sort of unacceptably shit. Like, maybe if we start telling companies like, oh yeah, if you like, I don't know, I don't think anything's going to change, but
but it could be legalized against, because there's like business practices that you're like, you can't do that.
It's the sort of thing that you can imagine the EU coming out with a sort of annoying, complicated law that people get around in tedious ways that just make it more difficult for us. But
or it's the start of World War III, is those frustrated with subscription services versus all the landlords who can afford to pay for it.
But how I miss just buying something. Even when you can buy something,
it's so
there's
annoying.
Planned obsolescence, so it will break within 2 years or whatever.
If something you don't own outright properly, I'm like, well, I don't own it, so don't tell me I've bought it. I've rented it.
Yeah. These are very boring old man complaints we're having.
Well, we're getting older every day.
Really solid episode. Really like this one. Great start to the series. That's Common People. Episode
What's the next one?
2 is Bête Noire.
Let me get my notes.
Which is Charlie Brooker's take on the Mandela effect.
Oh, yeah.
In which young woman Maria is a food scientist and an old school friend that she bullied in school, possibly, potentially, supposedly, called Verity, starts working there. And things start happening to Maria, and she forgets. Things start happening to Maria, and wait, how do I even explain this? Things start happening that Maria keeps seeing things happen, and then people go, no, they actually happened another way, and then look back, and Maria was wrong. And she basically seems like she's going insane because all of these things that she swears are happening, she is being told that she's misremembering them.
Yeah, it was like the chicken joint used to be called Randy's, and then it changed to
Bernie's.
Bernie's.
Yeah, she's like, this chicken place is called Bernie's, and they're like, no, it's actually called Barney's. Anyway, she slowly goes insane and is convinced that her childhood friend is behind it, which she is.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, I thought this was a fun idea for an episode. What did you think?
I liked it until about 3/4 in. I hated the ending. I thought it was. I thought all the performances were great. I loved the build up to the whole thing. I hated the little clicky multiverse.
Yeah,
I was like, pointless, stupid.
So I
undermined the whole thing for me. Didn't like it.
I basically agree with you. So I think
it's the classic horror sci-fi problem.
What's basically happening is you're watching it going, okay, this woman has some technology that is allowing her to seemingly like change the past or change someone's memory of the past.
But it wasn't that extreme. It was like just subtly changing, because it was only it was like she changed the words in an email. She changed words on a chicken thing.
She changed a bit of CCTV footage.
But it did also make people remember things differently.
Yeah. And you're going, okay, basically the sort of whole thing of this episode is, what is the piece of technology going to be that is causing this to happen? And it turns out the piece of technology is something which accesses the entire multiverse,
of course,
and allows you to switch to a different timeline. And all of a sudden, Black Mirror, which has always been this like subtle thing where they invent one new specific piece of technology that feels like an extension of something that we have or might have, and see how that changes things. All of a sudden, she basically has a magic wand that can do anything. She basically has a fucking genie and can make wishes. And it just didn't feel like Black Mirror to me.
But it also like undermines the stakes of the whole thing, because there's an infinite number of universes, which is what the multiverse is. So it means what we're seeing on the program is just one extension of the multiverse. So there's one where she didn't manage to get the doodah, and the lady just didn't get shot in the face, and the lady managed to get her revenge. So then you're just like, well, what's the point in any of this? It's just I get to make up my own ending because it's
okay. So you think any TV show or any movie that has an infinite number of universes implied within it, where they say there's a multiverse, you're like, well, this doesn't matter. Yeah, because there's another one where it's fine.
Yeah, but that's why they always have to introduce, which this didn't introduce, is like a prime timeline or something that is
a kind of
constant,
a canon event, or whatever
has to
it
happen,
is,
which is what like Everything Everywhere All at Once had. Most of the Marvel movies have that or whatever, to just keep, and it is the only way you can maintain stakes. Otherwise, it's just like, well, who gives a shit? Because in the other timeline, you were fine.
Or
if you do it like, let's stay in one timeline and we just follow it, and you ignore the idea of a multiverse. And you're just like, I care about these characters because they're the specific variants that I'm invested in. Whereas this, it jumped. And the second it jumps, you're like, all right, nothing matters. Don't care. Don't know who I'm following.
Right.
Don't give a shit. And also the switch to villainy by the main character is hilariously quick. She's literally like, I've got the wand. I'm Empress of the World. And you're like, what?
I thought it was kind of funny that she becomes Empress of the Universe at the end. I mean, it's obviously really stupid. But I just thought it was it just like, I don't know. Black Mirror is supposed to feels to me like it should be a kind of warning about the advancements of technology. And this just felt like a sort of dumb sci-fi thing with no connection.
Also, I just don't believe she could build that.
Yeah. Well, exactly.
And like their whole explanation was, but she liked hanging out in the IT room. You're like, well, she can't build a multi-universe generator out of that.
I think basically the technology was too far-fetched.
Because if it was something like it edited, I don't know, it made people suggestible to what has just been told to them.
Yeah.
Or something like that. It's a frequency that does that. And so whoever's holding the thing can make a subtle influence. Like, rapid fire hypnosis, maybe, but it's just like, yeah, they went way too far.
Yeah.
You went too far, Black Mirror. You went too far this time.
It just didn't feel like Black Mirror to me. It
was also annoying because the acting was really good in this. I mean, the acting's been good in most of them, but it's like I was invested in like, where's this going? I love this relationship. Like, there's also something I love that dynamic of good people who used to bully people and how that affects the psyche of the bullied person and going through. Like, I find that psychological space really, really fascinating because like school can be so impactful on some people, and then other people they don't even remember it.
Yeah.
So it's sort of an innocent crime in that sense, but it can absolutely shape someone's entire future.
Yeah.
That's such an incredible story and like psychology to it.
Getting revenge on bullies and like how much can you blame kids and that kind of thing.
Yeah. That's fascinating. And it's really annoying for me to be like, that's like, it's because of multidimensional. Like,
yeah.
I'm like, oh, whatever.
I think for something like that, for something that extreme, because normally Black Mirror is in the world of sort of like Ex Machina, Her, like these small grounded things. For a crazy, silly multiverse adventure, I think you need, or anything set with like multiple universes, I think you need to kind of introduce that and be like, okay, that this is where we're at, this is what's happening, right, and then go from there. Felt like it was like, oh, here's a really grounded things with really subtle twists. What's the reveal? The reveal at the end is, oh, there's millions of universes, and it's like, oh, okay, so it's just, I don't know. I think maybe if that had somehow been introduced earlier and we were on board with it, but as the kind of twist, it was very unsatisfying. It was like, I was hoping that there was going to be some really clever, subtle piece of technology that I couldn't conceive of that was doing this. And I was going to go, oh, wow, that's so interesting. It's so interesting how it's like changing people's minds or whatever. But it's just like, yeah, we just swapped to a universe where that's true. I think they came up with the idea of... what if we had a Mandela effect kind of thing where everything this person remembered was like not happening, and they were going, oh, that's a cool idea, how can we do it? And then they were like, I don't know, multiverse, I suppose. I suppose so.
It sounded like halfway through they got a Marvel movies director to just take over. End this movie. J.J. Abrams. I don't know, or whoever the fucking directors are, I don't know. That was Star Wars. Anyway, didn't love it.
Didn't love it. But
Doc Brown's
not
in
bad.
it. I like Doc Brown.
Doc Brown is in it.
I like Doc Brown. I always like seeing his face.
He's
So
all
I did love when she was drinking the milk. That was a great scene.
Oh yeah,
Who's drunk my oat milk? She just looks her in the eye.
Really sinister.
And then it went downhill from that scene onwards.
Also, what kind of fucking maniac do you have to be if you can switch to any possible existence? Like, what an amazing... You're like... how am I going to get revenge on my old childhood bully, given I'm in complete control of the universe? Oh, I suppose I will, like, very slowly gaslight her, like, get a job at a company and gaslight this woman over weeks and weeks. Why can't she just switch to a universe where that's all already happened?
Yeah, it's stupid.
I don't know. Anyway, very silly.
Yeah.
But you know, somewhat fun. Next episode was Hotel Reverie, which I will immediately say I had almost the reverse feeling to you with this, which is that I found almost all of the episode pretty tedious and frustrating. Yeah. And then I thought it had a really lovely end.
I agree. The same. I thought the technology was really dumb.
So just to, if you've not seen it, or just to remind you, they invent this technology where they can basically put an actor inside an old film, and then rather than having to act and film it over weeks or months, they can just basically live through this film with a little earpiece with the director telling them what to do in one continuous take.
Yes. And also all the actors are replaced with AI.
All the actors are AI people.
who think they're the real characters.
Yeah.
Which is also a crazy.
So
many problems.
So many issues with this, right? Like,
because can I say the number one thing?
Yeah. Okay, you go.
If you're gonna make a 1-to-1 remake, which is what they want to do,
Yeah.
why you would ever want to do that? No idea. Anyway, they want to make a 1-to-1 remake. You can just superimpose the person into it. We've got the technology to do that.
Yeah.
Just do that. It won't even be cheap. It won't even be expensive. It'll be cheap as fuck. So dumb.
I think they even mentioned that. Are they like, what? You mean like a deep fake?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, different for some reason. And it's like, different in the reason, for example, that if it goes wrong, the actor could die.
Yeah.
Seems like not really a step forwards. Just do a fucking deep fake.
So the fact they just gave her the way they like just sent her the USB being like, make sure, like, read it. It's like sort of the agent would be like, there's incredible amounts of danger to this new technology.
Yeah, literally. So the whole setup is so stupid. So they don't explain to the actor what it is until she gets there. Apparently, like, they've sent a document, but like, so obviously you would explain it in loads of details. And then they just haven't checked anything. Like, they find out halfway through that she can't play piano. Like, what is this? Movie studios have to put in so much work. Like, the fact that they haven't thought through anything at all, that they haven't checked that she knows her lines, that, like, it's just so many things that you have to, like, believe to be true that
also
are
the one where
totally
like,
unbelievable.
we have to do this in like 2 hours because a Swedish advert is coming.
Yeah.
Like, if the stakes are this high, you'd just be like, no, this is a tragedy waiting to happen. This is insane. We need the whole day so that we don't risk our life. It's so dumb.
And then when she's in the movie, this actress played by Issa Rae, she seems to like be barely attempting to act at all.
Yeah.
So she's in there and she's just like, whoa, what the fuck's going on around here? And it's like, you're supposed to be like a world famous actress.
Yeah.
And this is like your one take. And she's just like looking around and going, ugh, and doing like the shittest acting you've ever seen.
Yeah.
And it's like, she's not even...
That side of it, to be honest, I didn't mind.
Right.
Because it was sort of the kind of movie they're replicating is like of its time and whatever. And she doesn't really know what's going on. So I'm sort of like...
I feel like you go 2 minutes in and you go, oh, well, this isn't working at all. And then the fact that when the plot starts to go off rails, they're like, okay, let's fix the plot and just change the entire plot of the movie because this thing's gone wrong. And hopefully we'll get to the end and it'll be some kind of salvageable thing.
Also, like, why does the movie end when the credits roll? Why does that then permit, like, now you can remove the USB that's put into someone's brain?
Yeah.
I don't understand.
Oh, yeah. And then the whole thing that, like, when it starts to go wrong, they're like, oh, let's get her out. And the tech guy's like, oh, actually, there seems to be an issue, which is that we can't get her out. And if we don't get her out, she'll be stuck there and we'll die.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is, surely this product is not safe to take to market.
Yeah.
Right? I know a lot of the Black Mirror sort of premises are like, ooh, cool technology, but maybe it can kill you. But this one, it feels like, it feels less hard to believe.
Yeah. Anyone who uses it, I don't feel sympathetic for.
Yeah.
I'm just like, why'd you use that? That's crazy. Definitely 100% death.
Yeah.
You're an idiot. Oh, God. And also the idea of, like, using AIs to use AIs that believe they're the actual characters in the movie rather than the actors.
Yeah.
It's insane.
And then
it's like, okay, now they've forced everyone to be a method actor.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's not how...
Yeah.
It's just,
Why do they even give the AIs consciousness?
Exactly.
Why, or like a sort of supposed, why aren't they just like...
limited?
I don't know. Yeah. It's so silly.
Yeah. But anyway, the bit that I enjoyed...
I thought was...
When she fell in love with the AI. I loved that. And that they were all trapped in it.
So yeah,
they were trapped in it, had this romance. That part of it I loved. I was suddenly like, this is now really interesting. And I did like the aspect of like, oh my God, she knows she's going to die. And the storyline is... that half of it, I was suddenly like, oh, okay, this is exciting now. And I liked all the sort of... the fact that time was going for so long in there.
Yeah.
And they have this full relationship, whilst in the real world, she's stayed in stasis effectively. So I love that. That's a great idea. And then I was also really scared because I was really not enjoying the episode, and then I was also really worried. I was like, oh my god, is the AI actress gonna supplant her consciousness in the actor?
Yeah, I thought that might
blatantly
happen.
gonna happen.
Yeah.
And the ending will be the eyes opening, and you're like, oh no, who's in there?
Yeah.
And it just ends, and I was like, this is the crappiest sci-fi fucking overdone trope ever.
Right.
But the fact it didn't go there, I was very happy.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to
Very
go there
happy.
when the AI like steps through this portal, and it looks like she's coming out, and you think they're going to go, oh, who's that? Oh, it's probably the woman. Let's pull her out. Just so many
I was
leaps.
like, I can't do another evil AI.
Yeah.
Stupid thing. So I liked that it was a romance story suddenly. I thought that was great. And I think that is also something I think is going to become more common, is people just falling in love with ChatGPT and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it's it does happen. It's like if people fall in love with catfishes just through chatting on MSN, it is just that. So I'm like, there's no way people aren't going to start, really connect or feeling like there's a connection with these, I don't know, chatbots.
Yeah, I think so.
Spooky.
And I thought the love story was quite sweet. And then the one thing I really liked is like it kind of sets up that maybe she's gonna like stay in this world, and allow her body to die, the main character. And I'm thinking, God, that's so fucking stupid.
Yeah.
Like, you're gonna like give up the real world to stay with one person
in one room
in like a fake hotel, like for eternity. Like, it just
You'll get bored.
It was so unbelievable. So I was really annoyed again, like you were, at this like the way I imagined they were going to do it, and it didn't happen. She does come out and is sad, and then as a gift to her, they gift her like the AI on a memory stick that she can have a chat to at any time. And I just thought it was quite a sort of sweet way to have a sort of bittersweet ending where they can still connect.
A little bit, but it's going to... I mean, also, you're guessing it's going to fade out over time or whatever, but you can imagine there being this decompression process. Where you've connected with something that's not human.
Yeah.
And then you have to wean yourself off it. It's, I thought, it's so funny that it's actually, completely the opposite emotions of the previous episode. Because it is weird, because in my head, which would be interesting when we come to ranking them, I left that with a positive feeling, and the other one I left with a negative feeling, even though the enjoyment factor was probably the same amount throughout the episode.
I think, I was like really pretty fed up with this for most of it. But then the end, I was like, oh, this is nice. I think it's going to be. I also am going to struggle, I think, slightly to rank them for those reasons, but I'll come up with some reason. We go on to episode 4, Plaything. So this starred Peter Capaldi as a games developer who gets his hand on a video game, which isn't a video game. It's just like some sentient fucking Neopets.
Tamagotchi.
Tamagotchis.
Boy, does he pimp that up a notch.
Yeah. And he just becomes obsessed with them and plays around with them for his whole life until they tell him that he needs to help them take over the world, and so that's basically what happens, and then it ends. It is a sort of semi-sequel to Bandersnatch, which I'm assuming you've not seen, Luke.
Oh no, I have seen. That's the interactive.
That's the interactive episode.
I hated Bandersnatch. I detested Bandersnatch.
I quite like Bandersnatch.
Yeah, because the guy's in Bandersnatch is in this one. The developer, isn't he?
Yes, the developer in Bandersnatch. Oh, I'm really annoyed I can't remember his name.
Yeah, he's really good.
But
he's
the guy
who... Although
the weird guy.
He's Darth Marenghi.
Garth Marenghi?
Garth Marenghi, yeah.
What do you mean he is Garth Marenghi?
Like, he acts like him.
Does he? The guy
really
with the
funny.
blonde hair?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really funny. Me and Michael, when we were watching it, suddenly noticed it. We're like, oh my God. Like a more believable...
That's funny. I hadn't noticed that.
Did I call him Darth Marenghi?
You called him Darth Marenghi, yeah.
Darth Vader.
Is Garth Marenghi.
The new Sith. Oh my God.
What did you think of the episode, Luke?
Okay, I liked this one. Again, it was one of the ones at the ending. I was like, I don't know. I liked number one, Peter Capaldi is like the best.
Peter Capaldi is really having fun in this one. He's
one of my actors who I like. He falls into the same camp as like Christopher Walken for me, where I just find him a joy to watch doing. So like if I watch him in something bad, I'm still like, this is good.
I mean, I think he's maybe overacting a bit in it. I also love Peter Capaldi, but it's like his character's like very like over the top. Kind of autistic
maniac.
Savant.
Like, it feels very like TV movie. I sort of like I mean, also it's funny because the guy who plays the young version, what's his name? Lewis Gribben also overacts.
Right.
As like a complete like falling over every second step, and someone says hello and he's like but I didn't like the ending of this, but I did like the setup. I loved watching a man go crazy over Neopets by taking loads of acid, which I think is, I don't know, again, because to me, it speaks to that sort of thing of people connecting with a technology where it's not certain whether there is a reciprocal... whether there is another consciousness in there that is interacting, or whether it's completely projected by the person.
Well, okay, it's interesting you say that, because that's sort of the thing I want to talk most about for this episode. So these animals were called the Thronglets.
Yeah.
And this is a sort of an issue or a question I had with multiple episodes in this series, with AIs in this episode, in Hotel Reverie, the previous episode, and the USS Callister sequel that we're going to talk about later, episode 6. Is that there are a lot of AIs in this series where it is basically stated, or maybe not even stated, but it's just sort of implied that they are sentient and have human-like consciousnesses, and we should care about them. In this one, it is explicitly stated, I believe, that they are sentient and have...
they said digital beings or digital life.
Yeah. And there is not really any questioning of that by any of the characters. And there is not really any explanation of that. And I am someone that basically thinks that, and I don't really know why, and I couldn't probably back this up in a debate or if anyone's clever was speaking to me, but my instinct is that there's something intrinsically biological about consciousness, and that you can't just create digital consciousness, because we're going to very, very quickly have AI in real life that you could program to be like, you are conscious, say you are conscious, and it will be 100% believable that it is conscious, because it will say everything it needs to say for you to think it's conscious.
It will react in a completely analogous way to something that is conscious.
Yeah, exactly. But it won't be, and in the same way that I believe ChatGPT right now is not. And what I found, I guess, kind of frustrating, or what made it hard for me to connect to this, is like, yes, I suppose the thing that they've created is cool, and it's a kind of a cool and interesting AI that's developing in an interesting way, and I could believe that. But the fact that we're just supposed to assume that they're all genuinely real, and when this sort of roommate guy comes over and starts killing the fucking Neopets, and he's like, no, and it's like, maybe it's bad, but like he fully like believes that these are people, actually these are actual conscious beings who are feeling pain and suffering and being murdered, and it's truly cruel and awful.
And they keep that grey as well in the episode.
They keep it grey, and
so you can't really work out whether the Thronglets are sentient or not. As the audience,
it feels like it isn't. My take was that you were supposed to believe that they were.
By the end, I thought, but I didn't. I felt like the episode was kind of keeping that great, because all you see them do is go blah 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 blah, and you don't really see them do any interaction with the world that would suggest, or at least everything that they do could just be being projected by him.
Yeah,
and like he is taking acid every time he's playing this game.
Yeah,
and it's. But I do agree with you. I did think that should have been maybe the focus of the episode, would have been exploring where is the AI a human being and where is it not, or where because I disagree. I sit more on I think there is a world where
there can be digital
life becomes a thing. Yeah, whether or not it's because consciousness is almost. It's kind of impossible to really prove in people when you go really deep down into it.
Well,
it's a very fuzzy concept that is like, it's like a soul. Do you know what I mean? It's really just a more science-y version of a soul.
Well, but
in terms of like, why does it have value? Why does it?
But
you can't murder someone.
I feel like there's slightly more to it than a soul, because our own consciousness appears to be very obvious to us. Like I am, the fact that I am experiencing something, that it feels like something to be me, is like, I think therefore I am, right? There is something here in a way that but you imagine the coffee mug that's sitting in front of you does not have that thing. So
the argument
there has to be something.
Well, yeah, and it could also just be you, which is always the counter argument, which is like the
but that just seems it seems unlikely.
Yeah, but there's no good argument
given that the universe doesn't seem to revolve around me.
Yeah, but it could. It's one of those annoying arguments where there's no way to prove it. You have to go off your thing. But it's like, if your definition of like, well, I treat things that appear to be sentient and conscious in the same way I believe myself am, and they behave reliably the same way I would, then that counts as it's got consciousness. And I believe there is a world where you make an AI strong enough to behave in that way that it is convincing people that there is consciousness there.
Well, definitely, yeah.
Whether it actually is there or not is like, well, that applies to human beings as well. So it's not like to me, I'm like, it's not such a step to get to something inorganic being sentient, because it behaves in the way that we do.
Yeah.
Not that I'm like, I'm not strongly yes or no. I think it's like, it's up there with the levels of like, does God exist? It's an insane one, but it's like all those arguments you put on the robot will then apply to us as well, in terms of like, how do we prove our own existence? How do we prove our own guarantee to human rights and life and stuff? Why are we special? It's kind of like, well, there might not be any solidly strong
I just think the argument we do have of like going, okay, I know I have a consciousness, everyone else seems to behave in an exactly analogous way, pretty much. I think it's like, quite, yes, obviously you can't prove it officially, but I think it's not an extreme logical leap to take to assume that all, or at the very least, some or most other humans have a consciousness.
Yeah.
Right? So, whereas, like, I don't know, I'm getting off track. But I think I basically found this episode kind of frustrating because it was acting like the Thronglets, the characters, the whatever you call them, the creatures in this game, were a sort of exciting technology, but they seem to fairly obviously just represent AI to me. It could have just been an episode about like ChatGPT or something. The Thronglet, it just so happened that the Thronglets kind of looked weird and they communicated in a mysterious way. But it was basically just an episode about AI and the singularity. And AI taking control. And it felt like, that's too boring or too obvious or too cliched a story to do. So they wrapped it up in a thing about little bunny things.
Yeah.
But it wasn't really saying anything that different to me.
Yeah, no, I do agree. It wasn't like boundary pushing in any way. And also it has a frustrating ending where it's like, they take over, welcome to the new universe.
Yeah.
In a way that was like I didn't like them all suddenly this signal going out and everyone like falling on the floor being like, the wrongs are in my brain. It just felt a bit like, all right, we're in Doctor Who now.
Yes. Yeah.
Whereas even if they had ended it, something starts happening on their phone and they end it there, so that it's much more ambiguous, so that it could have just been that Peter Capaldi is just a crazy guy who thinks that this QR code he's written will do anything.
Yeah.
You could have left it open to that. Which, again, I wouldn't say is a satisfying ending, but I do agree with you. The interesting bit of that is that sort of, where does artificial life begin versus organic life? Does it at all? That is a really interesting discussion to engage with, and this would have been the perfect episode to do that, and it doesn't.
I agree. I was thinking about that a lot.
Frustration,
but I didn't feel like the episode did it. It felt like the episode was like, I've created a digital life. Cool.
And you really think Charlie Brooker has the capacity to make that episode as well?
Yeah.
Which is, again, like,
I guess he probably doesn't want to, he wants to do things that feel very original. Like, he doesn't want to do an episode which is just, what if ChatGPT was sentient? Because that's something a million people have thought about all the time.
Yeah.
But it just feels like this was kind of that, but...
A question that came up to me in the future, and this is something I've noticed in like sci-fi movies in general, is like people's accents would be different. Because Peter Capaldi's got such a strong accent. I was like, but in the future, everyone's accent is going to be some new fusion of like all the worlds coming together and interacting with each other, which I've never seen a movie go for.
Wait, I'm confused. This episode wasn't set in the future.
It's set a little bit in the future.
Oh, it was set slightly in the future. But only a little bit.
Yeah, I know, only a little bit. But even then, it's like, when you think about how people talk now compared to 70 years ago, it's like miles apart.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Which I've just never seen a show go for that, which I think would probably be, just make the thing sound stupid. But
yeah, invent your own accent for the future.
I just always thought that would be an interesting thing for a sci-fi to do.
Yeah.
They kind of do it in Blade Runner with there's like loads of sort of East Asian influence in the infrastructure, but you don't actually, no one's speaking with like a Japanese accent.
Yeah. I'm sure you would put it in if that was your film.
I really would. I think that'd be hilarious.
I had a decent time with Plaything, but it just didn't feel like it kind of amounted to anything.
Yeah, I agree.
That interesting to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I know Charlie Brooker really likes video games, and it felt like he was trying to say something about that and make video games seem interesting. But the fact it was a video game was like basically totally irrelevant to the final plot of it.
Yeah. It wasn't the best.
It was okay. It was right. Penultimate episode of the series was Eulogy.
Yeah, with the lovely Paul Giamatti.
Paul Giamatti. Paul Giamatti is an older man living alone who gets sent a package from the daughter of his ex-girlfriend who's just died, someone he went out with like 30 years before. And the package asks him for any memories about his ex-girlfriend that they can add to an immersive eulogy experience that they're going to put on during her funeral. So he's asked to dive back into his past to see what memories he's got of his ex-girlfriend. And the technology that is used here is there's kind of an AI lady who helps him jump into old photos and sort of imagine being inside them. But I would say, to be honest, this isn't really an episode about technology.
No,
I'd say that the technology is... You could make this episode without any of the tech stuff. Just with him looking through old photos.
Yeah, because I was going to say the
very, very similar episode.
What could recall memories of things that have happened in the past?
Yeah.
Regular photos.
Regular photos.
Regular photos.
What if we made the photos
3D?
feel a bit bigger and
Yeah.
like you were in them for a little
And
bit?
can you see more of them? Actually, not really.
No, not really.
Unless you can remember.
Um,
In which case, do you need the photo anymore?
what did you think of the episode, Luke?
Well, one thing I thought was, fuck me, Paul Giamatti can act.
Paul Giamatti, one of our great.
He's another.
actors. He's so good.
Fucking great. Which I thought this episode was really like, wow, you've
Yeah.
carried this. He's great. Like, I loved Sideways, and he's brilliant in that. And anyway, yeah,
He's very good in the holdovers.
Yeah,
Which
but yeah, it was such a change in pace to the rest of the other episodes in the series.
Yeah.
It's like a really slow, really. I don't want to say indulgent, but like it could feel like that if you didn't like it.
Yeah.
It's really slow, pandering, emotional sort of, thing about reflecting on past relationships. Yeah, I agree with you. I didn't really feel like the technology added anything. There was a few sort of plot points that the technology enabled to develop, but you could just replace it with a regular person instead of an AI.
right.
Yeah, I thought it felt kind of out of place in Black Mirror to me, but I did enjoy it.
I don't know. I really like when they have a bit of a left turn and they have a more human, emotional episode. A lot of people's favorite episode, I think you were saying you've not seen it, San Junipero, is, just a sort of slow kind of romance story and doesn't really feel like it's about technology at all until the end of the episode. And again, this one was just sort of a nice human story about memory and different perspectives, and I really liked it. I thought it was moving. I thought it was clever. It was engaging, and even though it was kind of, as you said, a bit sort of slow and gentle, and I thought the ending was really sweet, that he manages to find this old violin music, and the woman's daughter can play it at her funeral. I thought it was a really sweet ending. I really liked. I really liked it. I guess I didn't mind that much. It wasn't about technology really, and I still thought it was evocative to see him walking through the pictures. He's crossed out or cut out the face of the ex-girlfriend, so he can't remember, and you see her face like scribbled out in these virtual worlds in kind of weird and different ways, and that was quite sort of evocative, and like, I don't know, it was quite cool aesthetically to see him jumping into these worlds where this woman's face was like scribbled out.
Also, like the frustration with yourself.
Yeah,
it's like you've almost become a new person now, right? Where it's like, now I want to remember this person and I can't because I was so angry back then.
Yeah.
that I've destroyed a connection in the future. God, it is devastating when he finds out that she left him a note.
Yeah.
It's so, and again, I think this is also like Paul's ability to act, where it's just, you get that whole feeling of like, fuck, how did I miss that? Like, rethinking the entire past 15 years, how they could have been different, and you're like, the pain of that is just I'd say it was the technology side of it was interesting at the end when they show the sort of immersive experience. They're all in the church just zoned out on their devices.
I was actually slightly confused at the end, like, did he actually fly to London to go to the real funeral,
or whether that was
like what's actually happening there?
I assume it's like a virtual experience.
But why were they zoned out? Shouldn't they be in it?
That's true.
It was a bit confusing.
Yeah. Because also it's more meaningful if he flies out physically.
I chose to believe, because it was sweeter that he had actually flown out.
But then it'd just be so horrible to go to a funeral and everyone's just there like, also, it's like, what if they're watching something else?
I guess maybe they were at the funeral, but the funeral was like throwing them into these different worlds and the pictures and stuff.
I can remember her. But I would say the technology aspect of this one, I did think it was sort of like, this one was actually felt positive. It didn't, the actual technology is helpful.
Yeah.
And
It wasn't
sort of
a warning against technology. It was a warning against being a cunt.
Yeah.
And it was a warning.
Really was.
And yeah, it was nice to. It's a thing I've seen
technology work well.
in TV shows and movies a bit before, but the sort of plot line of the guy who like thinks he's a nice guy and thinks he's been wronged, slowly realizing that, you know, he was actually an asshole, and you know, the sort of leaps of logic are a bit like the AI very, very quickly realizes a lot of things.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at her expression here, and he's like, "Oh my god, you're right. I must have been wrong all these years." Like, some of the leaps are a little bit
idiot.
silly. Yeah,
that was the bit where I was like, "How did you work that out?"
Yeah. The idea,
but
that
that was also again is one of those ones. This whole series, the AI had the memories of the daughters, so would have known all her memories.
Would have known all the daughter's memories.
Yeah. So the AI had access to all of the daughter's memories.
Yeah.
So it would know about the pregnancy before it even got there.
I guess maybe the AI wouldn't have known that she was pregnant at that exact point if he'd not mentioned what sort of year and time it was. But yeah, I suppose so. I don't know. It was making me think a lot about what I remember and what I've forgotten. And I think I forget a lot of things.
What ex-girlfriends you horribly discarded, thinking they were the villain.
I think it is weird. It is weird. The whole ex-girlfriend thing, ex-partner thing, that you spend, you know, years of your life potentially with someone every day, and then you in the future can sort of barely remember them.
Oh god,
it's
that
like
freaks me out so much. Yeah, that's like when ex-partners have children, and then in my head I'm like, as the ex-partner of someone who has children, you're like, well, I'm so irrelevant to your life, because I feel like even when people have children, sometimes their partners, their current partners who they had the child with, become secondary, and then, you know, to then just be like, to share something so intimate with someone of like raising a child, and then you think back to your other relationships, which is so minuscule in importance. And also it's that horrible feeling that someone could be more meaningful to you than you are to them. It's just such a like, oh, that's such a difficult thing to like come to terms with. Be like, you are still the most significant person in my life, or been the most meaningful relationship in my life, and you're like, I'm a footnote to you. It's crazy.
Oh, well, I hope you're okay, Luke.
I'm fine. But that is a dynamic. I'm like, that is, and I think that is the reality of it.
Yeah,
it's
not
really
not knowing the impact
brutal.
that you've had.
Yeah,
it's very weird. You know, I've stayed friends with or run into ex-partners and things like that, and it's a really, I think it makes sense that there's, you know, films and books and stuff about that subject, because there's such an inherently bizarre feeling of like, oh, you are someone that I've shared like a huge amount with, and are sort of incredibly important in some ways in the story of my life, and there's clearly something, and yet I have no idea who you are, and I've forgotten loads, and like I feel, and like it's kind of awkward, and it's like seeing a colleague or something where you're like, hey, how are you doing?
Well, I think what's even more is like the indifference that like they feel like such a stranger, to the point of being like, this is, I can't even connect it with the memory of the person I have.
Yeah.
In that's a different person. That person is gone, and you're like, oh god, this is, it's so bizarre. It's so bizarre.
Yeah.
And it's weird to be like, you were sort of like, because also if you have friends who stay with you the entire time, you have this point where it's like, well, your partner is sort of maybe more important than your friend, during that period of your life. But then later in the future, your friend is way above them in the hierarchy of importance to your life, and your partner is a complete like phantom, and you're like, how does this change?
Yeah, I mean, but your friends sort of like the importance like builds up as you get better and better friends with them, and then it kind of ebbs and flows, and maybe slowly goes down. Partners, it's like you don't know them, then suddenly they're the biggest person in your life,
up here,
and then suddenly they're nothing.
It's crazy.
It's a weird. Occasionally, I've known some people who are like breaking up, and they have like a cool down period where they're like, let's break up over the next like 6 weeks or something, and that instinctively feels insane to me. It's like, how can you do that? Surely if you know you're going to break up, then you're broken up. Like, how can you do that? But also, like, I can see the appeal of that because the jump
it's just
very scary.
Yeah, it's too high.
Yeah.
It's too high a height. You want to walk down a few steps. It's like that thing when you're on a bungee jump and everyone like crouches down, then jumps off. Yeah, because I'd definitely say most of my relationships has been like a bit of going back to each other for a little bit, then really being like, okay, this really doesn't work.
Yeah. Oh, the sort
Then,
yeah.
Untangling.
Do you think the character Paul Giamatti was playing, do you think his life was shaped a lot by this relationship? Like, it's implied that it took him a long time to get over it.
I don't know, because he strikes me as like, it's also hard because he strikes me as like a depressive character, and there is that sometimes with depressive people, not people with depression, I mean like depressive nature. They can have this all-consuming view on things, but they have that on everything. So it's just partly why they end up in sort of negative spirals, is because it's so like everything is maximum importance. So if it doesn't meet perfection, it's like, ugh, ruin my life. The sort of guy is like, if the milk is late, it's like that will ruin the whole day. Whereas like some people are like, whatever, the milk is late, who cares? Doesn't matter. I'll go get milk from the shop instead of the fucking milkman delivering it. So I couldn't say, but his perception of it is definitely that. So
his perception of it is definitely that it was
ruined
all-consuming
his,
and
yeah. And so I mean that then to him, it kind of doesn't matter. Because that's the lens he's going to put it through. I don't know. I'm fine with sitting with that ambiguity. I can see two worlds in which it's one in which is true and one in which is not, which is a really cop-out answer. But
I guess it's just interesting as like, it's sort of I think it's easier to understand like someone who's gone through a breakup with someone that they loved and they're still sort of obsessed with them. That's a sort of easy, simple, romantic thing to understand. But I think I almost wonder if I was like, maybe it's just because I'm in a relationship, but like what I think is interesting is like exploring the when shows or films have like someone, they're in a relationship now. I guess Past Lives does this really well. They're in a relationship now and they love their partner and they don't want to break up with their partner or anything like that. But then there's still a kind of importance and a romance and a whatever to their past relationships and thinking about that. Like, it's almost they did it the sort of easy way of like, he was, he loved her and he's never been able to get over it and whatever. But I almost wonder if maybe a subtler way of doing it could have been, he is in a relationship now and has moved on. But even when that is true, it's still very complicated to look back at old things like that. And it's interesting, like, I don't know, if he was in a relationship now, him missing the letter is less of an obvious that's a tragedy that he didn't see the letter written by her, and it would be more like well, is that a tragedy? Was that it is a tragedy? But then you wouldn't have met your current wife. But
maybe I would have been happier with.
Maybe you would have been happier with that person.
I mean, I guess that's for the feature length. version of this, isn't it? Yeah, because that's interesting. That sort of also then that really gets into things of like what is love and can you love a number of people? And does it? I don't know which is the best for your life.
Yeah,
who knows?
I guess it's like the way I think of it is like not that you necessarily love multiple people, but that if you have loved or done anything like love, it sort of leaves a kind of footprint in your soul. It's sort of like a little kind of a ghost of love that exists within you that is interesting. I don't know. Just feels like an inherently kind of emotional thing for drama to look at. I like the episode. You like the episode?
Yeah, I like the episode.
Nice.
Next.
Anything else to say about it? Next.
No.
Final episode. USS Callister, Into Infinity, episode 6.
Could not be a stronger vibe shift.
Yeah. Very big vibe shift.
I also watched these two back to back, and I was like, I can't do this.
Yeah.
I can't be boomerang this quickly into something of this nature.
This is a sequel to a previous episode from a couple of series ago, in which a guy gets digital clones of his colleagues that he doesn't like and fucks them around, and then he dies at the end of that episode. And this is sort of a guy played by Jesse Plemons, and this is seeing what happened after it. And basically, these digital clones that he created are stuck in this MMO online game, and they're trying to survive, but it's hard to survive in this game. This is again taking the piss out of companies with subscription models and that kind of thing, because
it's a bit of an Elon Musk dig, I feel.
Elon Musk, and just a video game dig where you have the sort of pay to win model that they've got, and a bunch of stuff happens, and it basically turns into
synopsis. Bunch of stuff happens.
I've started describing it, and I was like, God, this is a fucking complicated one to describe. Lots of stuff happens. It basically turns into a big sci-fi adventure.
It feels like the most classic. It turns into like Star Wars.
It's funny
Star
because
Trek.
the whole thing is like the character is supposed to be sort of. It's supposed to be kind of like a parody sort of thing of Star Trek, but it ends up feeling like
it's more like pastiche,
a Star Trek or Star Wars.
It's like a love letter to
episode
it
or movie.
Yeah. It doesn't feel like satire really.
What do you think of this, Luke?
I liked it, but yeah, I feel like it's. I actually thought it was really good for what it was. It's not hugely to my taste because of that sort of like.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm watching Black Mirror, I want to kind of watch something cynical and controversial or whatever. So the more interesting bits to me were the bits that all happened outside of the internet universe. Whereas everything that happened inside the internet universe felt like Star Wars and whatever. But I did like I liked the characters. Jesse Plemons I always think is great, being a sinister weirdo.
He's only in it for like one scene, really.
But I also loved the who's the guy who played the sort of head of the video game stuff. He was
the CEO. So he's in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Jimmy Simpson.
Jimmy Simpson, is that his name?
I think that's
his name. He's one of the brothers in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia who drinks lots of milk. Yeah. Does he? Or is he one of those guys? Anyway, he's always definitely in It's Always Sunny.
I found him very funny. At points like too much, but I did enjoy watching his scenes. I thought they were great. I did like the high point of the drama where the real lady is killed by the car out of nowhere.
Yeah,
and I was like, where is this going to go now? So exciting. And I thought it balanced those things well. I do think it's like, look, if you're not into sci-fi of that type, you're not going to enjoy it.
Yeah.
But I thought it felt almost like it felt like Doctor Who or something to me. It felt lighter and more sort of family friendly almost for Black Mirror.
It was 90 minutes as well. It's the longest episode. It was basically a feature film.
A movie,
I'd agree with that, even though the premise is actually quite dark. Certainly the premise in the first episode, the earlier USS Callister episode. think I agree with you on most of the points you're making. I certainly found the kind of meta storyline in the real world about the company and their relationships and stuff interesting, the most interesting, but it felt like it devolved into quite an ordinary sci-fi adventure. And I find sci-fi adventures like that very boring and tedious, because I feel like, I think first of all, I'm just like not excited by space and spaceships. They're not like, I don't dislike them, but I'm not like a big fan. They don't get me excited.
You need emotional connection.
Yeah. And
you need Paul Giamatti reminiscing about his past love.
And I think it was a really, I'm a thoughtful human guy with a big heart and blah, blah, blah. But it was a really classic example of why I find Star Wars, Star Trek, things like that, just like really not very interesting, because it can't give you all the information about the world and how things work, because it's huge and really complicated, and also they haven't thought of it, they're just making it up as they go along. And it just feels like every plot point is like, oh, there's an issue with the game system in this world. Oh, how are we going to solve it? Oh, well, there's this clone of this guy in the middle of the thing.
It's on to the next MacGuffin.
Yeah, it's
the MacGuffin transponder has MacGuffin the MacGuffin thing.
Exactly. And, we often talk about rules in horror movies, how we like horror movies that establish the rules, and then it plays with that rule set really
same
well.
With fantasy. It's all sci-fi, fantasy, horror have to, here's the groundwork, here's the stakes, here's the story within that.
And sci-fi things like this just feel like they're just introducing new thing after new thing, new reveal after new reveal to create the stakes and then solve the problem. And it's like, oh, what are we going to do? Oh, it turns out that there's a clone of Jesse Plemons somewhere inside, and I just completely lost. I stopped caring and wasn't connected to it.
This is like a genre for you that is like, this is not to your taste.
Yeah. But I don't know. It just feels. It feels like objectively bad. This feels like an objectively bad aspect of this genre.
Yeah.
Like, I just don't know. I don't understand how anyone can be involved in a plot where, like, when you're watching someone fall down. If you're watching a movie and someone falls off a mountain, right, and they're falling down a cliff to their death, in a normal non-sci-fi movie that they cannot suddenly gain the ability to fly and fly away, right? So you're engaged because we understand the rules of the world. We understand what can and cannot happen. If you don't know what can and cannot happen, you can't get worried for the characters. You can't get invested because, like, you don't know what's happening. So I don't understand.
To script it properly as well, because you can't leave anything to interpretation. Because those things, so it ends up. Which I think is a problem with some sci-fi, is that it just feels like exposition rather than genuine dialogue. Because you can't really be subtle, because then people might miss out why the MacGuffin does what it does or whatever.
Yeah, loads
it's
of
really
exposition.
tricky.
And
really
it's
tricky.
I don't want to hate on Star Wars because people will not like me. But, like, it's the Star Wars thing, right? Loads of stuff happens. Oh, no, we can't do anything. Oh, but there's an exhaust vent, and if we fly in...
But there is a balance to it, isn't there? Because I would say, like, the first Star Wars really do capture a sort of... There's enough investment in characters that you can overlook some of those things, whereas the newer Star Wars are terrible, like, because it's that. It's really like MacGuffin hunting. We're not emotionally invested in anyone, really. It all feels like if there is an emotional beat, it's like a twist that they've just added for shock value and tried to change it, whereas the original feels like, Han Solo was a great character that everyone enjoyed. They liked the relationship between Darth and Luke, and like all this sort of stuff that's in there that's sort of fun and family friendly. But yeah, I agree with you. There's like Yeah.
Yeah, the earlier Star Wars, I'm not really a Star Wars guy, and I don't even know how many of the original ones I've seen. But they do have character building and some of the things I do like. But just in general, I find that unless it's just like a silly, I think that's why I can watch something like Rick and Morty, although Rick and Morty's not been good for a long time, because it's a comedy and because that they're doing that, and it's just about seeing what creative ways they can do. They can come up with these solutions, but you're not really truly engaged in the fate of the characters because it's a dumb 30-minute episodic thing.
It's a popcorn watching movie. It's like just enjoy the colors and whatever.
But I think it tries to be something deeper, and it just didn't end up working for me really. And it had it had the whole other thing of again, these are AIs that are supposedly sentient. And again, why are they sentient? How can we believe, are they actually sentient? What?
Also, it was interesting
it just wants you to believe they're sentient straight away. And again, there was no real exploration of, is that even possible? And do we believe they're sentient?
I don't have such a problem there being a sci-fi world where they're like, it's just a given that they're considered human life. Because it's like, I don't think you have to necessarily answer that question as long as you're aware that that is the society that we're in. But I do appreciate it's not like a done deal.
Yeah.
But I don't mind a universe having that. But I did find it weird that there was sort of this, that the digital copies cared about their real biological counterparts. I was a bit like, why do they give a fuck? Like, they don't actually have a connection to them. And it was really like they kind of switched between caring and not caring. And I was a bit like, this needs to be decided one way or the other.
Yeah. I did actually think that was
the bad
interesting.
Guy straight up killed his...
Like, when Jesse Plemons finds out he's dead in the real world, going like, oh, how do I care? How much do I... Because they are, you have their... I don't know. Do you have their memories? I can't even remember. But, I thought that was interesting. And that would be another way to make me maybe question what I think about sentience, is the thing that happens at the end where they upload her sentience back into her brain.
With them and attached.
Yeah. In like a little inside out, they're watching everything she does. That just felt like a sort of silly,
it was fun
ending.
I didn't mind this episode. I do agree with you. It felt like a lot more lighthearted than the others. I didn't really mind it, but it wasn't like wow.
Yeah, I think it was probably like, if I'm looking at it from an objective point of view, I think it was probably a pretty solid episode. But
it's aggressively not your taste.
Was like not interested. I didn't love the first USS Callister, and that was like got rave reviews.
Oh, did people go mad for it?
And this one, I liked less. I think Jesse Plemons is just really creepy, and the idea of him creating clones of the people he doesn't like at work so he can boss them around and fuck them over is like very creepy, but also very believable
and more interesting than this one.
And I think so. This one just felt like it was just sort of overcomplicating things. I do also like the kind of like the stereotype of the sort of nerd character who's nice and he's just misunderstood and he just doesn't have a girlfriend, but actually he's like a fucking
evil
incel cunt. God, Jesse Plemons is really good at being creepy. Have you seen Civil War?
No, I haven't seen Civil War.
You should watch Civil War just for the Jesse Plemons bit. Is an amazing scene.
I've seen him in quite a few other things. He's great. He's good. They can go from quite cutely innocent to suddenly the worst guy ever. He's fantastic. So
that's this season of Black Mirror.
Yeah.
I thought there was some good ideas and some fun stuff in there. I had a great time. I had a decent time. I think actually a great time is too much. I kind of feel like if these were films, released at the cinema, most of them I'd be like, that wasn't great.
Yeah, but you give it the TV,
but because
TV anthology
I think
series,
we're kinder to TV shows,
Yeah,
and it's like, I
I think that's fair. They have less production time. They have less.
I don't know, but this
like
has
B-movies.
a huge budget and a massive cast for Netflix.
I mean, yeah.
I don't know. Given how many years it's been since the last series, I would have hoped it could have been a bit better. But I still think worth watching if you're interested in that kind of thing. If you like past Black Mirror, let's rank them from. I feel really unsure about my ranking, but I'm gonna.
Yeah, I've just changed my mind.
I'm gonna stick to it. Okay, what have you got in last place, Luke?
Bet Noir.
Bet Noir, the Mandela Effect one. Why is that last for you?
Because I hated the ending, so I left feeling like the whole thing was stupid.
See, I've gone for the reverse thing. I put Hotel Reverie last.
Yeah, but this is what I'm really struggling with. Is like I think I enjoyed them the same amount but in different orders.
Yeah, Hotel Reverie. I just spent the first 3/4 of this being like, this is so stupid. This is like the amount of plot points I'm having to sort of shut my eyes and pretend are reasonable when they're just not reasonable at all. It's just so stupid. Even though
I've also had a difficult, because this is my original ranking, is I put Plaything second for a similar reason, that I didn't like the ending, making it feel pointless. But I actually think Plaything is better than Hotel Reverie.
You put Plaything second?
Second last.
Oh, second last. Okay.
But now I want to change that.
Okay. Well, you need to stick to an order.
All right.
What are you doing? What are you putting last?
Do I go with my original ranking or the Bet Noir stays last?
I don't know which of you. Okay, Bet Noir's last for you. I've put Hotel Reverie. Fifth place. I've put Plaything.
Okay, yeah, that's where I put Plaything.
Okay,
but I think Hotel Reverie should go there now.
Okay, so presumably you've put Hotel Reverie at number 4.
Yes. I've changed
This
my
is
mind.
so stupid. We shouldn't
changed
do
my mind.
we should never do rankings
like,
again.
Well, wait for the next one. They're going to be even more complicated.
I put Callister at number 4.
Callister. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, well, I've got Plaything at number 4 at the moment.
Okay. Number 3?
Number 3, I had Callister.
Callister. Okay, I had Bet Noir at number 3. Okay, I think we're probably...
But what's really difficult is like Eulogy I don't even place in the same type of...
But I think you can say whether it's
quality of
whether
it,
it's good or not. I think we're in agreement basically. Bet Noir, Hotel Reverie, Plaything, and USS Callister all had things to all had things about them that were good.
Yeah.
All had things about them that made them sort of worth watching, but they all had
glaring
stupid annoying things about them as well, which made them frustrating.
Yeah, I think maybe that's what US Callister didn't, I felt, was like at least sort of truer to its own logic and stuff than the others.
Yeah.
Even if it wasn't to your taste, it's like it's more consistent in what it's going for, maybe.
Yes, I didn't feel like USS Callister had a sort of glaring error.
No.
In the same way that I would say most of the others had something that I felt was an error.
Yeah.
I just was like a bit fed up with it.
Not for me, yeah.
Eulogy number 2.
Yeah.
Common People number 1.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Even though Common People has that glaring error of why did you kill her?
I don't think it was a glaring error. Maybe it was, but
requires more thinking than the other ones.
To be fair, maybe they've they're at the end of their tether.
Yeah, it's true.
They just
I mean, they're both going mad with grief and frustration.
Yeah,
that's fine. It felt like the most complete by quite a long way.
If you've not seen some of the older Black Mirrors, I might send you a list of some you should watch, because there are some really, really good ones.
Fine. I just remember I watched one that I just didn't like.
Yeah, which one was that? There were some.
It was
a bunch of shit ones.
I remember. I mean, I watched it when I was younger, so I might rewatch feel different. It was the one where they had the social media that dictated your whole life.
Yeah,
and I felt like it was an interesting idea, but then it just turned into this really melodramatic scene at a wedding, and I was like, this is just dumb. No one would actually act.
I think I remember that. I think that was maybe the first one on Netflix, and I just remember being impressed at how good it looked because the budget had gone up since since Channel 4. But yeah, I don't think that was one of the best ones.
I did watch one I liked, which was where you could remember your memories in a VR thing.
Yeah.
And then there's that horrible scene where they're making love to each other, but in the real world, it's just them having really dead, horrible time. And in their memories, they're just watching some old time they used to be really into each other. And you're like, oh, something like that.
Do you want to invent your own Black Mirror episode, Luke?
Okay.
What should we have as our prompt for our own invented Black Mirror episode?
What do you mean? There's got to be a prompt to it. Here's what I would pitch.
Okay. Give me one that you've got. Yeah.
I don't know if this is great, but you could, like Sims, you can design your own character.
Mm-hmm.
You can just do that in the real world now. Cosmetic surgery's just got to a point. You can just be like, boom, different race, boom, different gender, boom, different thing.
Yeah.
What does that do to your identity, man? It's not fixed anymore. Loads of questions.
Yeah.
And it's literally like a Sims thing. And then there's also a tier model of like who's more expensive. You can get the higher graded ones. Is
it blackface if you make yourself actually black?
Well, exactly.
If you go literally black.
Yeah, but you got to go black from... It would actually be like how long you've been black for and how much sort of social prejudice you've taken. But then does prejudice just disappear because everyone can change wherever?
Yeah.
And then also you think someone's one way and then they change and you're like, oh, but are you... I don't know. Interesting.
It would be
so analogous to like...
The idea like... sort of perfectly hot people would, because everyone could be perfectly hot, it would all be about someone who's like hot in an interesting way, like Amy Lou Wood in the new White Lotus, who's got like a big gap in her teeth and everyone's like, ooh, but then this is not traditionally hot things, but she is hot.
It'd actually be so funny because then like graphic designers would become the most powerful people in society. Because do you remember when Nike Air released that thing, Nike ID? Do you remember that, where you could design your own trainers?
Oh, I'm not a really trainer guy, but sure.
I mean, anyway, you could literally go in and be like, I want the what's the base of the shoe called?
The sole.
I want the sole of the shoe this color. I want
this
material. You do everything. And obviously what you discover is that all the trainers on display are the best combinations.
Yeah.
Because they've been made by artists and graphic designers and all this stuff. And they know how colors go together. So you try and make your own shoe and it looks terrible. It just looks rubbish, and you're like, I don't know why.
That's funny.
And they're like, it's because this angle doesn't fit neatly.
The idea I had for one yesterday, but I want to come up with another one because I think it's too rubbish, is a guy, there's like a sort of TikTok streaming platform where it just shows you generated content just for you. And
totally personalized,
like generated.
We've looked into
just
your
past. Just for you. It like scans your brain, so it's like the perfect stuff for you.
Only you will enjoy this.
And so people are just totally addicted to it. And then one guy gets it, and he just like it's just something really weird. I don't even know. It's just like, let's say it's like horny gay goblins.
Okay, well, we know what you like.
Every video is like a horny gay goblin. He's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Why is this just... And he like calls up the people and he's like, sorry, you're just giving me horny gay goblins and I'm not interested in that at all. And they're like, well, sorry, if it's giving you horny gay goblins, it means you're interested in horny gay goblins. And you're like, and he's like, well, I'm not. And he's furious about it because everyone else is like having loads of fun. He's like, I just don't care about horny gay goblins. Anyway, next day, a horny gay goblin moves in next door to him and he falls in love with the horny gay goblin. And he's like, oh, I was into horny gay goblins. I just didn't know.
That was great.
Yeah?
That was very good.
Got any other Black Mirror ideas? I could do this all day.
Yeah? Well, give us another one.
Okay. Give me let me think of a technology. I've got my HelloFresh one.
Yours is really good. Should I say my less good one?
Okay, let's hear your less good one first.
So I thought that they invent a time machine.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You don't get a lot of that.
Okay, they invent a time machine.
And they go back to the time of the dinosaurs, and man, it's hella different to what they were expecting. Dinosaurs are actually a highly intelligent species.
I mean, this is already not Black Mirror. This is the least Black Mirror episode.
What are you talking about? How is time machine not? It's
they
about
just
technology.
go back in time to the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Sorry, I'm being rude.
Guess what? The dinosaurs, super smart, but they've used technology to be smart. So the reason. Oh
my god, this is so shit.
The reason Tyrannosaurus Rex has such little arms is because they don't use them, because they've been using like technology instead to like psychically do everything. So they've been devolving slowly.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is just about why T-Rexes have small arms.
No. So there's more than that. So it turns out the pyramids are just giant Wi-Fi systems.
Okay.
And all the hieroglyphs are just how you get onto the internet back then. And we thought
So they're
they
like
were
Wi-Fi
just,
passwords.
they're Wi-Fi passwords. So the super internet that the dinosaurs made. And we just thought the dinosaurs were all real dumb all this
Sorry,
time.
can you? What's the Wi-Fi password at this bazaar?
Yeah.
It's small bird, large feather, squiggly line,
Osiris.
Osiris,
um,
a sphinx.
yes, Lord Anubis. And then they're like, what? And then they realize they can get on the old internet, and they're like, wow.
Okay, this is almost okay. So everything until the last sentence you said was absolute horse shit.
Yeah.
But I quite like the idea that there was like an old internet
Exactly.
in the ancient times, and you get on the old internet and you see what was on the old internet.
And what I was going to say was what they find is things like
Dinosaur
grass.
porn.
No, things like grass, trees, all the natural stuff was actually artificially created by dinosaurs using the internet. And actually it was all in service of creating the internet. And we, as a species, are essentially like an AI. We were a thing created out of that inorganic matter that was all supporting the internet, the prehistoric internet. And actually, we're not natural at all.
This sounds a bit like when you've described to me what it was like when you had psychosis. You're like, and the dinosaurs actually created grass using the old internet that they had.
I think
Like
this
barely understandable.
I think you thought I wasn't going anywhere.
I think if Charlie Brooker's listening, he's not going to be
Charlie Brooker, give me a job.
pumped with that.
But
I've
think,
actually just invented 2 new ones, which are good.
all right, let's hear them.
Okay, HelloFresh.
Psychic dinosaurs.
So it's like HelloFresh, but it's like a subscription service where they send you like what you need for the week ahead using quantum predictive models. So it's like
future.
it knows how
HelloFresh.
much toilet paper you're going to need for the coming week.
Okay.
And it knows you're going to have people around, so you're going to need more toilet paper or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And it like just sends you everything you're going to need for the week. And you get up one week and you look in it, and it sends you a gun.
Oh yes. Oh yes. How exciting.
And you're like, why do you need the gun? And then you that's good. I tell by your smile. You're like,
great.
This is a good.
And then they're like, because the dinosaurs are coming.
Because something's
from
happening.
The past.
Yeah. And then I don't know. Maybe it goes on. I don't know what happens, but like that's an intriguing premise.
Yeah. That's a great start.
I've got another one.
Oh,
I
God,
can
he's a
do this
machine.
all day long,
My
baby.
God.
What's my other one? Oh, I just had it as well.
Well, how could you
yeah.
forget?
So it's like, okay, I've not figured out like what the twist is in this, but I'll try and do it as I'm going. So they invent a time machine, not influenced by you at all.
Sounds like pretty influenced by
They
me.
invent a time machine, but the time machine's like a microwave. And it can only, it's like a box, and people and living things can't go in it because they die if they go in it. But you just you can put objects in it and age the objects. So let's say you want to do a dry aged steak, or slow cook a meal. You can do that in like an instant because you put it in the time machine. It goes whoop, sends it like forward in time. Or like makes time go really quickly.
Say what happens to it in that time.
Well, no, I think it would like, it would do what
because cooking's not just getting old.
Well, you put it on like a induction burner inside the thing and have a spinner or something.
An instant microwave.
No, because it could do other things as well.
It's a time traveling microwave. This is like how we were earlier being like, oh, and how do they get to these convoluted spaces? This is what happens.
Okay. It can't do living animals, but it can do plants. So you can plant a little seed, and you put it in. You do your time travel.
And it can make it grow,
and it grows, right?
Okay, but why can't it
like
do other living things?
Because it affects blood. Anything with blood, it like is bad for the blood. So now the twist Okay. So people are using this. They're getting along great with it. The twist is as follows. Someone puts in some sushi or something, and then they do the button, and a man comes out.
What's gonna happen? Fill in the details later. We've got a fucking season finale.
I don't know. I can't figure it out. A man comes out.
You told me you had 2 amazing ideas. Your first one was so good. We put a seed in a microwave and a man comes.
I said sushi, actually, not a seed. No, okay, but I think there's a good one. It's like
Yeah, I've got one.
No, okay, right. I've got.
No, I've got one.
Okay, no, but I'm just telling you quickly. So they start putting things in, and like everything starts dying. And they start putting things in, and they set it to like a year, and everything comes out, and it's like dead and exploded. And basically, the implication is that in the next year, there's going to be like a nuclear war or something.
Yeah.
So it's like telling you from the future that there's going to be a war.
Microwave predicts future.
It's not a microwave. It's completely different to a microwave.
Time traveling microwave. A strong message for people of today. Please stop using the microwave. It's going to cause a natural disaster.
What's your other one?
All right. Man in helicopter crash.
I'm going to check that this is still recording because I'm stressed. No red light. It's still recording.
Now I'm thinking about this. I don't think this has any sci-fi element.
You've just written a film.
Wait, but I think this would be great.
Man in helicopter
crash has amnesia.
Okay.
He wanders into a bunch of LARPers in the forest.
Okay.
They're all being elves and that. Mm-hmm. He thinks that's really going on.
Okay.
No one breaks character because it's a LARPing thing.
Yeah.
We spend the whole movie thinking he's travelled to a different dimension when actually he's just walked into LARPers.
So you think he's, as the audience... Okay.
As the audience, you think it's like oh, whoa, he's passed through... So actually, he's a spaceman. There we go, now it's Black Mirror. He's a spaceman.
And he thinks he's landed on a different planet.
Yeah.
But he's just landed back on Earth in a LARPing convention.
Yeah, and it's crazy, man.
Wow.
But it's not really about technology other than like...
Other than you went, okay, he's a spaceman.
Or someone's in a coma, they put a VR thing on, then they wake up, and they just think that's the real world now. Or a prank you can play is... oh no, we watched that movie, sorry. It's someone else's movie.
What?
The one where they switch bodies.
Freaky Friday?
No, the one where the guy's got the game and he's like, and it's like Mafia.
Oh, It's What's Inside or something.
Yeah, it was really good until the end.
I think it was fine throughout.
Okay.
Okay, I'm going to come up with another one.
All right.
I know this episode's 2 hours long already.
Yeah.
But that's fine. Give them what they want.
Yeah,
they can turn off after the review. This is bonus content.
Turn off whenever you want.
This is the sort of thing that we'd have
country.
on a Patreon if we had a Patreon.
We should set that up.
Okay. There's a magic dog. No, sorry. I'm.
Okay. A chip that tells you exactly what to do for maximum health. You know, so it's like the Fitbit, but taken to the extreme.
Yeah,
right?
extreme.
So it's like you've got
Fitbit.
to eat this much, you've got to breathe this deeply, you've got to have this much sex, you've got to do that. All your stats, man. Mm-hmm. You've got to get all your stats right. And then the twist is... you just don't need to do any of that.
Okay. I've got another good one.
Okay.
It's a company that can... you install software like on your head, and what they can do is they can go in your dreams and influence your dreams. And what you can do is, let's say you want to like learn French.
Oh.
You can start getting French lessons in your dreams.
It's French Inception.
French Inception.
That's the working title.
And so people are like, oh, they're like learning all these new skills. They're like doing work in their dreams, so their dreams aren't just wasted. But then a horrible man gets in. Then a horrible man's in there, and he starts trying to murder you. And if you die in your dream, you die in real life.
Oh my god!
No, I mean, sorry,
Elm Street.
that is just Nightmare on Elm Street.
That would be a good crossover with Inception.
But no, maybe the twist is like you don't remember what they're teaching you, and they're actually like an evil company,
And they're stealing
and
French
they start
from actual French people.
and they start giving you dreams.
Adverts.
Okay, so no, it starts being like you like wake up and you remember the dream you've had. You're like, oh, I remember the French lessons I've had in my dream. That's so cool. And then they stop being able to remember the dreams, and they're like, oh, why can't I remember them? And they're like, oh yeah, the memory barrier is like too much not enough bandwidth, so we've got rid of that, so you're not going to be able to remember the dreams anymore, but you're still going to be able to do it. But they're still like teaching, but they still wake up and they know more French, so they know it's working. But then it's like an evil company, and they start teaching them like, you are Nazis. Or something like that.
The Nazis.
And then they wake up and they're like, I know a lot of French, and I do like Hitler.
Dystopian world achieved.
Yeah.
Black Mirror is satisfied.
And then what's French for?
And then you could have
Hitler?
a whole thing where they're like, they wake up and they're like, oh, thank God it was all the dream. And then he opens his window and he just sees all the Nazi flags. And
Everyone's
he's like,
a Nazi.
Thank God everything is okay in the world.
Yeah.
Because it's not. Because it's Nazi world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe something better than Nazis.
Yeah, but, we can work on that later.
And then it's like Man in High Castle. Remember that show that people said was good, but I didn't watch because I knew it wouldn't be good.
About if the Nazis won the war.
What if the Nazis won the war? Yeah, there'd be Nazis around.
Oh, it'd be bad.
Boring.
I
I think that's all of our Black Mirror episodes. Get in touch. Look, we just did a whole fucking season in 10 minutes.
What if you could talk to animals?
Yeah.
People want that. It's bad. AI's doing that now. And
what animal would you like to talk to if you could talk to an animal?
I don't want to talk to any animals.
I just think they're thick and they'd have nothing to say.
Wouldn't. I mean, octopus or
I don't want to talk to
only
people
because they're the smartest. But yeah, exactly.
Most of
There's
the
dumb
time.
people. And if I think I cannot communicate with this person because they're too dumb. Or too smart, I guess.
But I think if they're too smart and you can't communicate with them, ultimately they're too dumb. Because if you're smart, then you should be able to
come down to their level.
Say what... That was the thing. That's what I hated the most at uni, was smart people that were way smarter than me. And I'd be like, okay, tell me what the answer to this question is then, because I'm too thick. And they'd be like, well, if you take the third derivative... I did maths.
Yes.
I'd be like, I don't understand what you're saying. Can you tell me in like a human way? And they'd be like, no, I just explained it to you. And I'd be like, I'd be furious. That's the one thing I could do. I might have been thick, bad at my subject, almost going to drop out every single year, just a bad student all round. I could always explain the little I did understand. And that's I'm proud of.
That's what as a genius that I am, I intentionally say dumb things to make people feel comfortable around me.
Yeah.
That's why people think I'm a lot dumber than I am.
I really appreciate that you do that. But I do think you should stop doing it constantly.
Well, I just want people to feel good about themselves.
Yeah.
I think high self-esteem in others is a price I'm willing to pay for people to think I'm a lifelong idiot.
Yeah, that's nice. And I'm sure all the people who for like dozens of episodes have been thinking, God, that guy's thick, are going to be feeling really bad now.
Yeah, they really
But
are.
actually, you're just a lovely bloke.
You all thought Sam was the clever one. No. I'm the nice one.
See you all next week. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.